So we came across another video, guys. This one is pretty interesting. Yesterday we watched a video on trans women had a discussion with conservative women. Today, I came across a video that was trans athletes having a discussion with cis athletes. And cis, I guess, is people who identify as the gender that they were birthed with. So if you are a man and you want to identify as a man, they would call you a cis man. Or if you're a woman and you identify as a woman, they call you a cis woman. Amazing, right? So we're gonna check this out. I haven't even watched it yet. I just came across it. Wanted to watch it with you guys and get a reaction with you guys as well. All right, so let's check this out. Let's check this out. Lord have mercy.
Trans athletes have an unfair advantage. Step forward if you agree.
When you first think about like transgender athletes, I guess the first thing you think about is, well, biologically, transition usually happens after puberty, right? So if this biologically male athlete goes through puberty, he gets like better bone structure, he has all these skills that he enhances, all these muscle that he puts on, and then he transitions. Yes, your testosterone levels go down, but you're always just gonna have that like things that you've gone through like during puberty that you have after you've transitioned. So I feel like there's always gonna be that advantage.
I think it's dependent on the gender that they are transitioning to. For example, trans women do have somewhat of an advantage. Biological men are naturally born with higher bone density and larger lung capacity and a larger heart, and that's not something that can necessarily be changed with hormones. Of course, this isn't the same for trans men athletes.
For me, it's just on average, guys are typically a little bit stronger, a little bit larger, a little bit taller. So depending on the sport especially, it can give them a large advantage when you're looking at something like that. When it's something like swimming, having that ability to be a little bit larger lung capacity will overall affect that.
Man, we're not gonna, men are built bigger, yeah. Men are built stronger, yeah. It's different. We're all equal human beings, but there's different things that we're built that, is different for each one of us as far as like women and men. There's things that women can do that men can't and shouldn't necessarily do, and vice versa.
Can I have the disagreeer step forward?
Among cisgender men and cisgender women, there are naturally differences in their anatomy, in their hormonal levels, in their height, bone structure, all that stuff. Like any cisgender woman compared to another might have a different body type. Yeah. Some women are naturally very strong. If you take the advantage, which I think in most cases is the hormones, and if you compare the...
By the way, for those who don't know, these are the transgenders. Because this is a discussion between transgenders and cis athletes. Cis meaning you identify as the gender that you were birthed with. So this is a transgender man, which means that's actually a biological woman. Yeah.
Blood work, and you're just looking at that. If they're on the same level, in my opinion, there just isn't an advantage, because when you grow up playing sports, some people are good at sports, some people aren't.
The problem I see with this argument is that there's a large group of people that no matter what I do in a sport will always automatically assume that I have a
transgender woman. I mean, you should be able to tell that's a transgender woman.
But they're not taking into account hours that I put into practice, hours that I put into weightlifting to become a better athlete. Roller derby is probably 90+% cis women. I get my ass handed to me. Like, yes, I am tall, and I can see that that can be an advantage in some sports, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that I have an advantage.
Oh yeah. What we usually hear in the like news and like politics and stuff is about trans women just because they're in so much prominence because they are winning. Like I can't remember what her name is right now, but she was
Leah.
a powerlifter. She is a powerlifter. I think she went to Tokyo Olympics and she's transgender. And they're winning by like a large amount like of weight.
If you truly believe that trans women have an advantage, even with hormones, then that means you truly believe that trans men have a disadvantage, even with hormones. So the argument that you hear most of the time is against trans women. So does that mean that you're okay with trans men having that disadvantage?
When I was like going through high school, I wrestled against females. I had to suppress both my hormones in my body, and I was still able to beat the men too, with my like levels low. Like, and
Yo,
that was crazy.
Yeah.
come on, man. Show me the tapes. Show me the tapes. Listen. Yes, there's a disadvantage for trans men in men's sports. And yes, it would be an advantage for trans women in women's sports. That's a man going into a woman league. And that's a woman going into a man's league. Yeah, it's going to be a disadvantage and an advantage. And you got this person right here who's a biological woman saying that she was beating the men too. Show me the tapes. You telling me professional men? I find it hard to believe. Professional. This is why we have our own lanes. This is why we have our own sports, because things like this aren't fair. If we're going to be absolutely honest, it isn't fair. This is why we have our own sports. This is why we have our own leagues and different things. But like I said before, there's certain things that women do that men can't do, and vice versa. But you telling me that as a biological woman, you were beating the men professional wrestlers? I don't know. That anything's possible, okay? But I'm just saying, you got to show me some tapes. I don't know about that.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like the body is like a shell, and what we do every single day in the practices and the like life lessons that we get, like living 40 years on this earth, we just try to live life the best we can.
40.
Yeah.
Trans athletes
Sheesh.
should have a separate category in certain sports.
So yeah, I can't go with that, you guys. Somebody saying that. I just don't. If y'all can see it, maybe, you know what I mean? But I don't know. Maybe it's me.
I don't want to say that they should be in a completely different category just because socially and legally.
Trans athletes should have a separate category in certain sports. Now, this is something I've been talking about for a good while now. You know what I mean? Listen, I don't believe in none of that. I don't believe that God makes a mistake when he made you. I don't believe in none of that. If you are born a man, that's because you're meant to be a man. If you're born a woman, that's because you're meant to be a woman. Anything else is an inner issue. Anything else is something that you're dealing with internally. So when it says should trans women have separate category in sports, if I'm being asked that, I'm gonna say I don't think there should be trans women in any sports or have a separate category, because I don't believe in trans anything. I believe that's an internal issue. I believe that they need to be helped. And when you do things like let them in girl sports or let them in boy sports or get them in their own category, then you're coming into agreement with it. People who identify as little kids, are we going to start letting them play in kids sports? Are we going to allow them to register in high school and junior high? I mean, what is going on here? What are we talking about? Maybe it's me.
legally, yes, they are that gender that they transition to, and putting them in another category just seems, from hindsight, seems wrong. But as an athlete, like in the sporting world, it just does seem a little bit unfair if you classify them under the same group, I guess.
Yeah, I think that there definitely are some sports where your physical ability makes a much larger impact on the sport itself. Wrestling would be one of them, swimming, track, something like that. But if you look at NASCAR as a sport, I believe that anyone can then go and do that sort of sport because that's more of a technique. If you look at other sports like golf, it requires a lot of technique and a lot of strength. Plus, video games is now starting to make a massive rise. So
yeah.
all of those could definitely have both genders in it with no problem. For swimming especially, if I were to decide that I would like to transition and then start all of the hormone therapy for a year or so, then obviously I would probably lose some muscle mass and I would slow down in my swimming. But I don't know if that slowdown would necessarily be enough to make it fair for the cis females that I'd be competing up against.
The danger of it is that you're possibly outing somebody. In America alone, there's several places that it's still extremely dangerous to be an open.
You're possibly outing somebody. Sir, you are outing yourself. Possibly outing somebody. Are you saying like you don't want people to know that you're a transgender, pretty much? Listen, that's dangerous. You know, there's been people like in outings who've ended up, you know, talking or being with somebody that was trans, then found out they were trans, and then tried to take their lives. It's dangerous. You mean possibly outing somebody? We should know if there's a transgender on a team. These people really, when people be saying things like, I am a woman, they really believe it. They really believe it.
Open transgender person. To say that you can't perform unless you're in this group, there's just a lot of safety reasons for that individual that it's not good. Second thing, where does the line draw? You're saying swimming, and you had mentioned earlier that like height was an advantage. Did I go through puberty as a male? Yes. But in order to say that
Bro,
I had an advantage
you
'cause I was born with testosterone is the equivalent.
Yo, I'm not about to play games with this. That is a man right there. Look, I care about souls, you know what I mean? But we have to understand, like, there comes a line between emotions and being truthful. Us lying and coming into agreement with that person, trying to say that's a woman, is actually hurting that person more than it's helping them. So what do you have right now? You have the whole world, not the whole world, but a lot of the world trying to come into agreement with this and make things come into agreement with these people by giving different people different things that make them happy. But really, we're hurting them.
Of saying that, oh, I went to this gym one time and I lifted and I had a protein shake, so I should never have to take a protein shake again because it's in my body. And the medicine I'm taking stops that testosterone. I don't have that anymore. Like my entire body, my entire mind, my entire way of thinking is
Because he don't want a protein shake no more. He a woman. Lord have mercy.
different because of the medicine I'm on.
Are we going to start making categories for cis athletes? Okay, you're in a category if you're 5'9" and above, 5'7" to 5'9", 5'5".
There is a category for cis athletes. It's called women's sports. Lord have
5'7", weights, like all those things. It's like, exactly where is the line
I
drawn?
mean, they
Because,
do have weight categories.
well, yeah, for
like,
certain
yeah.
sports, of course. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think just generally, every person is different. And like you're saying, like the cis women that were getting cut because they're naturally, more athletic to some standard that's set. It's like
Or even the varying levels of testosterone. Oh,
Exactly.
you're in this box, so now you're in this league.
yeah.
I wasn't by any chance trying to discriminate against them and try and put them in their own category
Yeah.
in that way. It was more just by a performance standpoint. We already do separate everyone into their own different levels. You don't have Olympic athletes coming and competing at state
Club levels.
club levels.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of trying to become a better athlete then?
If they're trying to work up to a goal, I'm not entirely sure.
So if you're good enough, you're going to be singled out and have to go. There's no proof of any trans athlete that is number one in any category right now.
Yeah, that's
Not
because I
yet.
think they're being
Not
held
yet.
back so much by just like the media and everything that you don't get to see their.
Didn't Leah
chances
Thomas
shine.
just win first place?
What would you guys say to like
That's a trans
transgender
athlete.
people who transitioned before puberty?
In that instance, I think I would take a step back and kind of look at it more of at like my own argument, like it was a scientifically based on like puberty and stuff. So I would like consider like it that would be different, but my mindset just coming into this, I mean, I think that most
Slice.
people go through transitioning like after puberty, or it's like encouraged
more
to.
common.
Yeah.
For me, it's more if they end up just fitting the category, regardless if they do it before puberty or after puberty. If they have the right amount of testosterone, they did the all the right testing all beforehand, then why not? Then you don't even need to separate them. They might as well just compete as a trans athlete.
Hormone testing is fair.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't believe we're even having this discussion. I can't believe we're even having this discussion.
Like the Olympics tests, college level tests. I know, like in Texas, at my high school level, the UIL organization, they tested, and you know, it's to keep everybody safe. And I think it's okay to test for hormone levels, and if that's the ultimate, like, you know, conversation here is that we're looking in people for hormone levels as a competition, then why separate men and women? Why are we talking about men and women? We just strictly talk about hormone levels then.
Yeah.
So there is varying levels of testosterone blockers that you can be on. I chose to be on one of the higher ones, but I can guarantee you that someone like me is going to get less of a chance to be cut than a cis female because my hormones will stay the same, whereas a cis is going to be all over the place depending on all sorts of variables.
I personally think that the hormone testing is really important, and just coming from like a fitness perspective, like fitness, bodybuilding, like that sort of athletics. For me, I take a lot of pride in the fact that my testosterone levels are within the normal range of a cisgender male. Obviously, performance enhancers, right? Steroids, extra testosterone, all those things are thrown around among cisgender men in the fitness world to, you know, enhance our performance, get bigger, all that sort of thing. And for me, being able to say like, no, I am within the normal range of a cisgender man. The muscle I'm putting on, I'm naturally putting on. I don't have an advantage over anybody else that's in that normal range. So I think for me, like, it's just really important because I'm like proud of that. And I think if you just assume that a trans person has an advantage because they're taking testosterone, it's kind of like, well, what about cis men that take testosterone to get bigger and that sort of thing? So
Hey.
How you doing, man?
Testing for hormones is fine. The issue is what you're going to do with that, because as I said earlier, it's really hard to put someone in a box because there's always averages here and there for male and female, but especially when you start making your way up in the competition pool, those norms go out the window, and it then gets even more difficult to write legislation on what a male can compete in and what a female can compete in for if their hormone levels are outside of this said box.
I'm fine as a trans athlete being tested. If I need to prove to the world that like I'm the better athlete at the end of the day, go ahead and take my medical information. I don't care. Like I'm just trying to live my truth. That's all I'm trying to do.
A cis female that's competing in a high level of track might have a normal male testosterone. So now are you going to kick them out because now their testosterone levels are too high? And that's where legislation can get really difficult to write.
I am treated fairly by my fellow athletes.
I joined roller derby only like 4 months after I decided to transition and get onto hormones. Everyone from the beginning was very accepting. Roller derby is almost too accepting from my experience, because I forgot how bad the real world can be sometimes. Not everyone is going to be, but my personal experience has been very positive.
Growing up, in my club, I trained with my brother, and we were like kind of in the distance group. So it was mostly guys there, and they never really saw me as like she's a girl, you know. They just saw me as like another competitor, and it was always just fun, like racing, and like it just made me grow up love being in the sporting world and being competitive with everyone. So yeah.
I definitely get a lot of hate like online, but I've never personally gotten any like issues. Like everyone that's in the gym is just trying to get better for the most part. Obviously, that kind of communal idea is really like helpful as far as me not getting so much hate.
Lonely times.
Yeah. When in high school, when I came out like prominently, everybody knew that I was trans, and there was a coach that exploited me in a lawsuit to try to ban me.
Hold on, guys. I think something's going on with my life. I know they can just take my live down. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna have to figure this out. That's wild. Hmm. They didn't like the truth that was being said, I guess, guys. Let me figure this out and come back.